If an unknown virus turned all the adults into mindless killing machines and left you stranded on an island full of homicidal bedwetters, what would you do? Less than 24 hours in, and all the taxpayers are shambling husks of their former selves, leaving their traumatized progeny to roam the streets unattended. Make no mistake, the latter is every bit as dangerous than their fully grown counterparts, especially in groups. And it's only a matter of time before they turn this nightmare into a Fortnite lobby. I'm going to break down the mistakes made, what you should do, and how to beat the mini apocalypse in Don't Grow Up. It's just another day at St. Madeleine's medium security orphanarium for our lovable band of unwanted youths, or so they think. Turns out the one faculty member responsible for looking after them this weekend straight up vanished without a trace, although they seem to be handling things pretty well on their own. After all, this isn't the first time an adult in their lives peeled out in the parking lot, never to be seen again. Eventually, the gang gets bored with raiding the warden's office and decides to take this party on the road to loot the nearby mini-mart. Keep in mind, none of them have any reason to believe society has collapsed or anything like that. Apparently, this is just their idea of a Friday night, which probably explains why none of them are getting adopted. Well, that and their terminal lack of intelligence. For real. So what if you don't actually have to break in? Ever hear of a security camera? Besides, the fact that you're using May's employee key to gain entry will automatically make them assume this was an inside job. And who do you think the first person they'll suspect will be? Surely not the troubled teen living just up the road. Lucky for them, the authorities seem to have far more pressing issues at the moment.
Oh, what?
Emergency situation. Please stay at your home. Do not leave your place of residence.
You're acting like the world's come to an end.
Nah, that'd be crazy. I'm sure it's just the flu. Then again, this would certainly explain why the streets are all totally empty right now. In that case, we'd be better off calling it quits and heading back to the youth center before we find out why. In the meantime, we should try 999 on Thomas's cell phone in case they can shed some light on the situation. Either way, it's pretty obvious something weird's going on around here, and it could very well be the reason our caretaker flew the coop all of a sudden, along with the fact that we found his empty vehicle smashed up on the side of the road. We need to take this matter seriously and hold up somewhere safe until we learn more about this so-called emergency situation. However, since that could potentially take a while, our callous act of delinquency might actually pay dividends. Instead of loading up on and smokes like we're headed for spring break, we should rally the rest of our troops to haul back as many non-perishable food items as we can possibly carry. Of course, that would be a lot simpler if half our frickin' friend group didn't scatter like roaches without saying a word to us. Do you have a moment to talk about your keys, Lord and Savior, the Ridge? Great. Firstly, what kind of idiot uses an O-ring to dangle their keys from? Pure disorganized, sloppy, ham-handed nonsense. Get your together, for Christ's sake. People are watching you and laughing at you while you fumble around for your jumbled up keys. The Ridge key case can properly secure 2 to 6 keys with their patent pending tension system, locking your keys in between 2 premium metal plates. What does all this mumbo jumbo actually mean? Well, for one, it means you don't look like a high school janitor or a Bucharest apartment maintenance man. But also, it means your keys aren't all over the place, flopping all around your pocket like a fish out of water. It's tight, fast, slim, and with this forged Pacific matte forged carbon look, wow, I could get lost in those ocean blue flakes. But you don't have to stop with just the key case for your on-the-go stack. Get yourself a Ridge wallet too. These small but packing wallets hold up to 12 cards and cash while looking slim and sleek. There's 30 plus styles and colors like carbon fiber, burnt titanium, forged ember, and burnt Damascus. Free shipping, lifetime warranty, and a 99-day risk-free trial. Head to theridge.com to ditch that lame O-ring and old school wallet and step up your key and wallet game. Use my code NERDEXPLAINS to get 10% off. Let's start with Bastion. He decided to go trespassing in a random apartment after hearing someone crying. Cause, you know, people always love it when passing street urchins intrude on tense family moments. Probably why they barricaded the door. Or maybe it has something to do with the hollow look of death in the tenant's eyes.
The grown-ups. All the grown-ups. Mommy! Ah!
Okay, that's just bad parenting. Look, I get the info came from a little bean sprout, but considering her apparent soundness of mind and what happened next, I'd say she's definitely onto something. We need to get back to the others ASAP and let them know what just went down. After all, if whatever's going on here could make someone snap their daughter's neck like a chicken bone, what do you think they're going to do to us? One thing's for sure, our story's believability won't be an issue here, as May ends up having a similar experience after stumbling upon their missing youth counselor, albeit with much worse results. And if somehow that still doesn't get the point across, I'd say the sight of Thomas having his brains bashed by a crowbar-wielding maniac ought to do the trick. Fortunately for Sean and Liam, it seems the owner of this fine establishment left the anti-theft device intact. 1 out of 3. Gonna have to tighten those groups up given the profound lack of Cabela's in this side of the Atlantic. As a matter of fact, we might want to take a minute or two to poke around for any extra mags. Something tells me the 12 remaining rounds of 9mm in that Beretta are not gonna get us very far. And you know what else won't get us very far? Jumping out in front of speeding SUVs like a whitetail. Seriously, you were just told all the adults have gone bonkers. Who do you think is most likely behind the wheel of that thing? Probably not a kindergartner if I had to guess. I mean, in this case, it actually is, but still, not a great idea. Besides, put yourself in their shoes. Everyone's losing their minds out here, and some wacko leaps out in front of you. Are you going to pull over and say, "What's up?" Or give them a door check on your way by? Luckily, these squirts are too young to remember Death Race 2000. Even luckier that they'd be trusting enough to let a pack of total strangers mob the ride during the rapture. Sure, we could probably fend off the odd attacker while walking back to the orphanarium, but May won't be going anywhere fast with that slash across her abdomen. Speaking of which, that is definitely gonna require medical attention, but if everyone old enough to hold a degree out here is currently zeked out, she'll have to settle for some hydrogen peroxide and dental floss stitches until we find a way out of this nightmare. The good news, at least according to the radio, is that the issue seems to be confined to our general area. The bad news is that we're on an island, and since the ferries have been shut down to contain the situation, we're pretty much stuck here until further notice. That said, it could be a lot worse. It can always be worse. But we're not seeing massive swarms of ravenous infected tearing across the countryside a la 20 days later. So far, it's just been individual shamblers out wandering around. And while clearly still dangerous, they won't be that big of a problem as long as we stick together. Knowing this, I gotta wonder why the sight of a single paralyzed police officer on the side of the road has everyone flipping the out right now. Literally to the point where Sean drops his pistol out the window like an absolute chump as they hit a spike trap. What, were you gonna drive by this meatbag? Just step on his neck and shoot him in the head. It's simple enough, even the brat can handle it.
Give me the gun.
How about a bullet instead? Turns out little Leon S. Kennedy thinks Sean caught the ugly, and he's not about to share a car with someone who could come unglued at the drop of a hat. Question is, how does he know this? No, seriously, why does nobody think to ask him this before he scampers off with our pistol? Those are two valuable resources we just let go to waste. If genuine, his knowledge of the warning signs could help us identify potential threats, and the gun could help us shoot them. Should have had someone jump him from behind while we had him surrounded. Oh well, at least we still have the Wonder 9 on the officer. Of course, we should go back and grab the gun belt as well. Not only for the extra ammunition, but also to keep from losing it like the last one, Sean. Plus, there's the safety factor. A pistol can't go off inside a holster, you know, unless it's a SIG. It'd also be worth checking the cruiser for anything useful. Given the situation, they might have loaded up with a shotgun or patrol carbine we could snag. But at the very least, I'd imagine there's an IFAK or two we could use to treat May's wounds. Come to think of it, we should put a safety shot in Eric Estrada and frisk him for the keys. The magic spike trap somehow smoked the engine in that box we were driving, so why not go for the upgrade? It sure beats walking. As for our destination, there is absolutely no reason why we shouldn't have gone straight back to St. Madeline's from the mini-mart. Think about it. It's isolated, it has food and water, and we know the layout well enough to lock the place down or hide if we need to. Instead, we're left to drag our injured friend through the forest until we find a place to post up that isn't full of either murderous zombies or heavily armed grade schoolers, or both. Quite conveniently, however, we end up finding one right away. It seems the sole occupant checked out from unrelated causes, although we should probably still drag him out back and put one in his skull to avoid any surprises later on. For now, we have shelter, supplies, and relative safety, plus the added benefit of information we can glean off the landline's answering machine. According to the messages, signs of infection include tremors, fever, and bleeding from the ears, culminating in the uncontrollable urge to attack everyone you see. I think it's safe to say we're dealing with some kind of viral outbreak here. As for why it would only affect adults, I'll leave that for Roanoke Gaming. All I know is that we shouldn't assume the microbe is out there checking IDs. After all, the only other people we've seen that weren't visibly infected were all younger than all of us, and it's starting to look like what's-his-name was right about Sean. Well, she stopped crying. Guess it's old Yeller time for our former friend, and it seems what little humanity he has left would agree. In that case, we should back off a bit and have him step out of the vehicle before we do the deed. Having transportation could be extremely useful as the situation develops, so the last thing we want to do is contaminate a perfectly good SUV by splattering this plague rat's head all over the interior. Just like that. Awesome. Well, now that we know for a fact we can be infected, we need to do everything we can to limit our exposure to the contagion. And that starts by getting the out of here. Like it or not, there's no way of knowing what Sean might have funkified after being contagious. The only silver lining, I suppose, is that we no longer have to worry about taking turns carrying May on our journey. You know, cause she's already dead. Question now is, where do we go next? And that all depends on how far we've come. If it's only a few miles, I say we head back to St. Madeline's and dig in for the long haul. Like I said before, it'll make for a decent zombie survival shelter. And the fact that we went the entire day during the collapse without anyone showing up makes me think it's probably still as empty as we left it. As for contamination, the fact that the rest of us aren't showing any signs suggests Sean might have picked it up sometime after we left. But we should still be sure to find some heavy-duty cleaning supplies and work the living room area over as best as we can as a precaution. Should probably burn the clothes we're wearing too. On the other hand, if we drove like 30 miles, we should look around for another remote country home like this one and try again. We'll want to have a single person approach the place in broad daylight to appear as non-threatening as possible, just in case any occupants are still coherent enough to pull a trigger. From there, we just knock on the door and listen for the sounds of manic screaming before gaining entry and clearing the place with our pistol. Instead, the three best friends head for the coast in search of Liam's dad's old boat so they can make a run for the mainland. And while that might sound like a good idea to a bunch of stupid teenagers, believe me when I tell you it is not. Look, I'm not one to blindly obey the commands of daddy government, but as long as we have enough food and water to stay alive, sheltering in place really is the right call here. Provided we can avoid infection, we just need to hold out long enough for either the cleanup crew to roll in or for the shamblers to drop dead from dehydration. And if we're lucky, they might even be killing each other out there. Besides, where do you think literally everyone else went when things popped off? The entire perimeter of the island is probably plague central at this point, especially in the area surrounding the ferry, which is exactly where our heroes are going right now. And even if, by some miracle, we find a seaworthy boat that no one's already taken, what do you think's gonna happen when the authorities catch us trying to escape the exclusion zone? The only reason I'd be trying to flee the island would be if the military were planning to level the place as a last resort. In that case, we should try to find a radio so we can keep tabs on the news coverage. If they suddenly start talking about a faulty nuclear reactor on the island that doesn't actually exist, or some kind of chemical explosion, we'll know it's time to make a break for freedom. Of course, another reason to hunker down further inland is to avoid other survivors. After all, you never know how far someone's willing to go to save their own skin. Wait, was that? No way that little piece of crap made it out here and tracked us down. Clearly, Bastion was just as shocked, given he did absolutely nothing while they made off with our wheels. Seriously, dude, what's the point of carrying that thing around if you're not willing to smoke the pint-sized bandits who just murked your friend? That, and this does not seem like the kind of place we want to be stuck high and dry. I mean, did you see how fast they took off? Little didn't even bother to floss over Liam's still warm body. Oh, and speaking of fatally misusing our resources, why, for the love of God, would you leave the keys in the ignition? All you had to do was put them in your pocket, and it would have been practically impossible for them to rip us off, which is exactly what car keys were invented for in the first place. Now we're stuck out under the hot sun with no shade, no transportation, and no water. The good news is that we're still right next to the road, so we can easily retrace our steps back to the main road where we can use Pearl as bait to carjack someone else. After all, someone victimized us, so it's only fair we do it to someone else. That's called paying it forward. Realistically, there's no reason for us to go blindly wandering through the sagebrush hoping the magic conch drops us a picnic, which is pretty much what they immediately start doing. However, instead of punishing this extreme lapse in judgment with a sun-scorched death from heat exhaustion, the universe pukes up another miracle in the form of an abandoned camp trailer stocked with canned goods. Evidently, this providence is enough to make them both completely forget just how utterly the current situation is, as the next morning, instead of doing literally anything to accomplish their goals, Bastion and Pearl decide to go splash around in a nearby reservoir for a while. Only, it's not quite the reprieve they think it is. Oh, so it turns out we were just swimming in a mass grave. Great. Good thing I got all that water up my nose. For real though, we may not know what the transmission vector is, but you gotta believe dunking ourselves in a giant bowl of corpse stew didn't do us any favors. We should have already been keeping a close eye on each other after what happened with Sean, but now we might want to maintain some physical distance. Sure, chances are we're both already infected, but until we know for sure, why risk it? Fortunately, we won't have to sort out who gets to stay in the trailer, as it's already being stripped of supplies by a few rugrats when we get back. And you'll never guess what Bastion left lying on the nightstand.
I said get out.
God, you guys suck. And if that weren't bad enough, the brats leave us with another mouth to feed after stealing our food like some kind of sick joke. Poor little girl has no idea she was just stuck with the two worst survivors on the entire island. Eventually, the teens decide they can no longer stay here, and I agree. After all, how long until the next band of lamplighters come to take the rest of our stuff? Where they lose me is their decision to keep pressing towards the coast. I mean, think about it. We keep seeing more people the closer we get, and the chances of us finding someone friendlier seems slimmer with each encounter. Instead, I say we gather up whatever food and water we have left and head inland to try and find another homestead. Going forward, we should also travel exclusively at night to stay out of sight of more raiders, as well as cut down on sun exposure. But much like their parents did, reason seems to have completely abandoned these two, and so they continue walking towards the shore in hopes the plot gods throw them another bone. Only this time, things aren't looking so good. Oh, we tried. Let's leave. I mean, come on. We're staring at the threshold of right now. Who in their right mind would want to go down there? The only thing we're likely to find in that pit is a sucking chest wound from some roving band of street sweepers. And sure enough, Jesus, dude, you could have said, I don't know, literally anything. Of course they're going to shoot at you when you're standing there silently like one of the freaks. Then again, the fact that we were in a group should have indicated we still had our social faculties. So I guess the real answer here would have been not sprinting directly towards the sound of gunfire in the first place. Still, by some divine intervention, they managed to find their way to Liam's dad's house without catching a bullet. Only, it doesn't quite live up to the hype he'd been spreading all these years. Not only is it kind of a heap, but there also doesn't appear to be any sign of the aforementioned boat. And just to make things worse, it seems Bastion sprung a leak. Yeah, probably shouldn't get too close there, Blondie. Otherwise, what's the point of trying to escape in the first place? All is not lost, however. As it turns out, the boat is only a short walk down the coast. Although, much like the house, it's hardly the yacht Liam made it out to be. Still, it seems watertight, and it even has a motor. So maybe they'll make it far enough to get drone striked after all. Jokes aside, side, the ocean is vast, and this boat is small. So there is a decent chance we could make it to the mainland unnoticed, as long as we have enough fuel. That said, there's no way we're the first ones to think of something like this. We'll definitely want to take as long a detour as possible to avoid patrols. Frankly, I'm just shocked we found it at all. I mean, you'd think that marauding band of teenagers would have thoroughly scoured the shoreline for transportation before committing to hunt down the infected. Speaking of which, they're getting pretty good at it, as they've somehow managed to track us down despite us leaving no visible trace, and just in time for Bastion to valiantly sacrifice himself so that Pearl and the new girl can make it out to sea.
Bastion, don't do this!
Yeah, turns out everything was not gonna be okay. And with that, Pearl and her little friend successfully navigate their way to the mainland, where they will almost certainly spread the infection to the local population, and over time, condemn all of humanity to the grisly fate of viral mania. In the end, of these 6 original teenagers, only Pearl made it out alive. However, had they taken the situation seriously the moment they heard the emergency alert and immediately fled back to the orphanarium, there's a good chance most, if not all of them, could have survived long enough for rescue to arrive. Or, at least, for the infected to shrivel up and die on their own. For that reason, I think Don't Grow Up was beaten. Moral of the story, don't go swimming in a zombie outbreak.